Have you ever stared at exam questions like these and just frozen? I mean, one asks how to reduce an entire nation's greenhouse gas emissions, and the other is a huge debate on tourism. They look intimidating for sure. But here's the thing, there are incredibly powerful frameworks out there to help you answer them perfectly. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break it all down step by step. So we're putting on our geographer's lens today to look at two massive challenges: how a country can genuinely manage its emissions and how we actually value different places for tourism. I'm going to give you the exact tools you need to analyze both. You can almost think of this as a story in two acts, a tale of two very different ways we interact with our planet. In one corner, you've got our effort to fix a massive problem we created, climate change, and in the other, it's all about how we value the world for leisure, for exploration. So let's dive into Act 1, the four-pillar solution. This is our master plan, our answer to that first huge question about how a country can systematically and effectively cut its greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, here is the absolute key insight. To build a sustainable urban ecosystem, you can't just tinker with one thing. You need a complete, holistic framework, and this model gives us just that. It attacks the problem from four different angles: our energy supply, our transportation systems, our urban development, and even household consumption. Let's see how they all lock together. The first two pillars are what you could call the macro interventions. These are the big, top-down, nationwide changes. First up, you have to overhaul the national energy supply, right? This means a massive shift away from fossil fuels and toward renewables like solar and wind. Then you've got to revolutionize transportation, making public transit so good, so efficient, and so widespread that it just becomes the obvious, easy choice over jumping in your own car. And the other two pillars? Well, those are the micro interventions. This is where we zoom into the developer and the individual level. For urban development, we're talking about laws that push for sustainable construction, things like green roofs, better insulation, smarter materials. And for household consumption, it's all about guiding consumer behavior. You know, stuff like those energy efficiency labels on appliances that nudge us all to make smarter purchases. So the crucial point here, the big takeaway, is that a truly effective national strategy has to be a full-court press. It has to combine those huge macro changes in energy and transport with the smaller, but just as vital, micro changes in how we build our cities and what we buy. You need all four of these pillars working together for the whole structure to be strong. All right, deep breath. Act 2, we're totally shifting gears now. We're moving away from fixing problems and into how we value places. And this brings us to a classic debate in geography, which is just perfectly captured by these scales. Which one offers greater opportunities for tourism, a place with rich culture or a place with stunning scenic beauty? So here's the exact proposition we're dealing with. It's a really bold claim, right? To properly evaluate it, we can't just look at the surface. We need to understand the strengths and, maybe more importantly, the hidden weaknesses of both cultural and scenic tourism. Let's start with the case for culture. I mean, the appeal is pretty obvious, isn't it? People flock to places like Machu Picchu or Jerusalem to connect with a unique human story, to literally touch history. This kind of tourism is all driven by a deep desire for an authentic experience, for real heritage. But, and this is a huge but, here's the critical vulnerability. It's something called the commercialization trap. This is the great paradox where the very thing tourists are coming to see, that authenticity, gets packaged, simplified, and sold until it's just not real anymore. Wow, this slide just says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you see the authentic, living heritage of the Maasai people in Kenya, and on the other, a staged, watered-down performance put on for a bus full of tourists. The second you cross that line and visitors feel like they're watching a show instead of an experience, the destination loses its magic, and it might never get it back. Okay, so what about scenic beauty? Well, its power comes from a totally different mechanism. It's something called the honeypot effect. And believe me, it is a powerful, powerful cycle of growth that all starts with a simple, beautiful landscape. Let me walk you through how this works. A stunning natural feature, let's say the Grand Canyon, draws in the first visitors. That initial influx creates a honeypot, concentrating people in one area. Then, to serve them, you get an infrastructure boom: hotels, restaurants, roads. All of this increased convenience makes it even easier for more people to visit, which, you guessed it, attracts even more tourists. It's a snowball effect, getting bigger and bigger. Now, this cycle sounds like a massive success story, right? More tourists means more money,
It seems like a good thing. But what's the hidden danger? What happens when that snowball just gets too big to handle?
And there it is. The ultimate danger is that the destination becomes a victim of its own incredible success. The sheer number of people leads to insane overcrowding, and the very environment that was the original draw gets trampled, degraded by pollution, erosion, and just plain overuse. The honeypot ends up destroying the honey.
So we have these two types of tourism. Each has its own unique engine for growth, and each has its own unique, fatal flaw. So how on earth do we bring all this together to actually answer the question? Well, we use a final diagnostic framework. And this is it. This is your ultimate tool, the diagnostic matrix. It's such a powerful way to see everything we've talked about side by side, giving you a crystal clear structure for your evaluation. Let's just quickly walk through it. The driver for culture, experiencing heritage. For scenery, the honeypot effect. How do they scale? Well, culture is limited by its need for authenticity, while scenery can basically snowball without limits. But their vulnerabilities are a direct reflection of those strengths. Culture's big risk is over-commercialization, while scenery's is overcrowding and degradation. And the archetypes, Machu Picchu versus the Grand Canyon. It's all right there.
So let's go back to that original question. Which one offers greater opportunities? Well, this matrix shows us it is not a simple choice, is it? Maybe the greatest opportunity of all doesn't lie in picking one side. Maybe it's about finding that skillful, delicate balance that avoids both the commercialization trap and the honeypot trap. Now that's something to think about.